Here is an example how to do a correlation in PSPP. So we have these two variables, practice test and state test, and we want to see how much does the practice test correlate with this state test. So we're going to analyze by varied correlation, and we choose practice test and state test, and here what you can choose if you want to do a two-tailed or a one-tailed test of significance. So if you think there's a positive correlation or if you think there's a negative correlation, then you can do a one-tailed test. If you don't know if it's going to be a positive or a negative correlation, then you would do a two-tailed test. So usually you have a good idea about if two variables are positively correlated or not, and then you can pick the one-tailed test. But if you don't know how two variables correlate, then you would just keep the two-tailed. And here you have a little thing, a little check mark that you can flag significant correlation. We're going to do that right now. This, for when you have only two variables, it's not that necessary, but sometimes you're going to have 5 or 6 or more variables that you want to correlate with each other, and then you get like a data matrix, and then this feature is quite helpful. So okay, we choose these two variables, we hit one-tailed and okay. Going to our output, see here the syntax, correlation, variables, practice test and state test, and then you see we want the one-tailed significance. So to interpret these tables, you see correlations, you see the first variable, practice test, and the first line here is the Pearson correlation. That's the one that we use for correlating continuous variables with each other. There's other correlations as well. So if you correlate for example, a nominal or ordinal variable with a continuous variable, then you want to choose different correlations. But here we have the Pearson correlation, and the first number you see is a 1. So that's basically correlating practice test with practice test. Correlating the variable with itself is 1. Correlating practice test with the state test, and here this is the number that we're looking for, 0.76. So 0.76 is the correlation coefficient for the correlation between practice test and state test. And then the second line here is the one-tailed significance, 0.01. So you see this is a significant correlation, right? It's smaller than 0.05. And then we also see the n, which is 10. So to summarize, the correlation between practice test and state test is 0.76 and the significance is 0.01. Now, if we go further down, you basically get the same information again, but this time you start with the state test, Pearson correlation with practice test, 0.76, significance is 0.01, and the n is 10. So what you want to do is you read these three numbers together, and then when we go over here, we read these three numbers together, these three, always this cell box, those numbers belong together. And you see that down here we're just repeating this box again. So this is how you do correlations in PSPP.